Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM on Wickham Sound. I am your host Dane Cobain, and this is the weekly radio show where we chat about the local arts news. We have a different guest on each week. We head over to the Rhylight Zone for a short story and or some poetry. We catch up with Twangling Jack Ford in the Oak Shed for a weekly album review, and we play local, unsigned and or independent music. As always, you can reach out to me here at the studio by dropping me an email on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. You can also find us on Facebook if you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound. You should be able to find us, and we'll repeat on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So this week we're going to be chatting to local musician Umar Arar, but before we do that, we are going to be heading over to the Rhylight Zone for the latest instalment of Formerly, The Rise and Fall of a Social Network. This is a novel by myself, Dane Cobain, and we've been serialising it in recent weeks. If you've missed an episode, you can catch up on, Wickham Sound Listen Again and iTunes and all of those things. You can also find it in paperback, electronic and ebook formats on Amazon as well. So, the latest instalment of Formerly, The Rise and Fall of a Social Network.
Chapter 20. Peter started smoking weed again. You could see it in his eyes, which were redder than hell. He used to show up for breakfast stinking of grass. Occasionally, late at night or during one of our arbitrary parties, he would pass a joint around and talk about the good old days. Mostly, I figured it was just for show. I was starting to feel good about life again. Then I remembered that Abby and Kerry were dead and that there was no such thing as normal at Formerly, as Niels and his team proved when we had an unexpected visitor on a Thursday evening. The first thing I knew about it was a sound like a fox with its tail caught in a door, a deathly howl which seemed to claw at the soul. I ran outside to investigate and saw Niels and his men swarming around a guy with a balaclava over his face, who was trying to protect himself against the onslaught of their fists and heavy truncheons. I struggled with my conscience for a second, and my conscience lost. I secreted myself in the shadows, pulled the hood of my jumper over my eyes, and waited, watching. When I thought that the intruder could take no more, that his skull would be pounded into the dust outside the office, Niels gave the order to stop and they backed away slightly as the masked figure retched and choked in the gravel. "Take off his mask," Niels growled. Two men stepped forward and removed the balaclava while he shone his torch in the intruder's face. From my vantage point, I could just make out a flash of white flesh and a pair of terrified eyes, but I wouldn't have moved closer if he'd paid me. "Who are you?" There was no response. Niels pulled back his arm and delivered a sharp backhand, which cracked the visitor across the face and sent him reeling to the floor, and then he asked the question again. "Who are you?" There was no reply, except for a stifled sob from the injured man. "Right," Niels said, turning his back on his victim to face his men. "Cuff him and get him out of here before someone shows up. See what you can find out about who he is and who sent him. Do what you've got to do and then take him for a little drive. Go, now." His henchmen were quick to oblige. They handcuffed their prisoner and slipped a hood over his head, then guided him into the back of one of their black SUVs and skidded away from the compound. Only Niels remained, staring thoughtfully out into the night. After a minute or two, he lit a cigarette, and I backed slowly away and returned sheepishly to my room. I'd already been on his bad side once. I had no desire to make things worse. On Saturday, we hit a new milestone. User sign-ups hit their highest ever rate, with 500,000 new users joining Formerly every day. It was beyond our wildest dreams. While the site wasn't exactly making money, it was at least paying the bills. We weren't bothered. Rumours of an IPO were afoot. If we could last until then, we'd be able to cash in our shares and become rich overnight. As a consequence, we threw a party, and it was one hell of a night. It was like the good old days, and even though Niels and his men were still on duty, they got involved with a couple of the drinking games. Flick looked stunning in a tight black dress, but she was exhausted from pulling all-nighters and she passed out by midnight. I tucked her into her bed, locked the door and then left her to it. The party started to wind down just after 4 o'clock in the morning. I was in the car park sharing a joint with Peter when he said something that surprised me. We were both drunk, but we'd both been drunker. I'd hit the barrier and come out the other side, and even though I'd carried on drinking, I couldn't get any drunker. It just made my heart race. "Dan," he began, pausing to take another suck at the roach before flicking the ash and passing it over to me. "Listen, John and I have been talking, and I want to make a proposition. We want you to come on board as a minority partner. We need someone we can trust, and you're the only one." "What about Flick?" I asked. "It's true that she's been here longer, but longevity doesn't equal trust. Besides, she had a hiatus. No, it has to be you, Dan." "What exactly are you asking me to do?" I said. "You'll join the board and have a say in the way that the business evolves. You'll look after the place when the two of us aren't around. You'll get cash, a bonus and shares. The longer you stay with us, the more you earn our trust and the more responsibility you'll have." I handed the joint back to him. sat for a second and made my decision. "I'm in," I said. "I've got no idea why, but I'm in."
That was the latest instalment of formerly The Rise and Fall of a Social Network by myself, Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound, and this is Lunar Barge with Float Away.
My future was looking gloomy, filled with work and TV movies. A chance encounter turned it around, and now my feet don't touch the ground. From the night I took your hand, and now I don't feel the land anymore. Something got me humming in the morning. Good day sunshine humming in the morning. We woke in a tangle on the back seat. Hangover deep down in my feet. And now all that I see is the water stretched before you and me. Some might say we're not young enough to float away, but I say we're just old enough to have learned how. Some might say we're too old to feel this way, but I say you're always young enough to still learn how. You could have been some sort of shadow, drifting through that sunlit meadow. I could have been an apparition. This could all be a blur of vision. And if I'd rather see in blue all my days. When you find yourself falling through time, and when you're looking out from side to side, and everybody seems to shine bright and easy with a plan and a comfy position, and you're still muddling with apparitions, it's okay. I had it sorted and my mind was set, thinking I was broken and I couldn't connect. And then I found a sort of bravery, it came and took a hold of me, and now I don't see things any other way. So they may say we don't know what we're doing, and that we're too old to grab chances like this, but we know that it's time to float away. And we know that it's never too late, and we are using this time. We are using this time to learn how. And they may say we don't know what we're doing, and that we're too old to grab chances like this, but we know that it's time to float away. And we know that it's never too late, and we are using this time. We are using this time to learn how. Some might say we're not young enough to float away, but I say we're just old enough to have learned how. Some might say we're too old to feel this way, but I say you're
what does not belong. Their lives close to each other. Yeah, we speak so deeply about it all. And how we can stand up to it. But I can't help you if you won't let me. This career about your souls and feed it to wolves. Broken reality is waiting to be old. Stuck in this moment of madness, frozen in the moment of truth. Is life all about choices? We could take the world and give back what we've sown. But I can't help you if you won't let me. It's career about your souls and feed it to wolves. Broken reality waits to be broken heart I cannot fix, but I need all of it. I'll never stand in your way, and I will break your fall.
That was Broken Reality by Umar Arar, and before that we had Float Away by Luna Barge. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and we're joined in conversation now by the man himself, Umar Arar. The first question is one I ask everybody. You may or may not have an answer to this. It's what was the last book that you read and what did you think of it?
The last book I read was actually called Fast Forward. It's an old book, I don't remember the name of the author, but I found it because it was actually a TV show quite a while back,
Okay, yeah.
and then and it was really cool. So I thought I'd go back and read it, and it was amazing. Yeah, great little story.
Awesome, cool. I love it when stuff like that happens. I mean, obviously you get things like Game of Thrones, which are like went huge and were based on books and stuff. But I like it when it's like the other way around, and there's, I don't know, like a movie or a TV show or something that you don't realize is based on a book. Like I found out a couple of years ago, Die Hard is based on a book, and now I'm determined to read the book that Die Hard is based on, just to
Oh
see,
wow!
just to see what it's like. It could be terrible, but only one way to find out, right?
Oh yeah, that's it. Definitely.
Cool. So obviously today I want to mostly talk to you about your music, and I thought a good place to start is to ask how long you've been playing guitar, and if you remember how you got your start.
Yeah, I remember how I got my start very well. I'd say I've been playing guitar for maybe about 25 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, and that came about by hearing a band called Three Doors Down.
Mm-hmm.
They released a song called Kryptonite, and that song resonated with me a lot. And I really wanted to learn that song from the get go. So it was actually my uncle, my mum's uncle. So he's my great uncle. He taught me how to read guitar tab and showed me exactly how to play this song.
Yeah.
And then from then it was the ball was rolling, and I just couldn't stop. Just kept going.
Yeah, and again, once you know how to read guitar tab, you can kind of teach yourself and pick up new chords and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I wanted to ask you about Three Doors Down. What can you tell us about your history with them? Because you've done like your Three Doors Down covers. Didn't you play with them live at one point and stuff?
I did, yeah. So after the Three Doors Down covers on YouTube went crazy, I'm like multi-millions of views. This was a good, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago now, I'd say. I literally played all the songs back to back, cover for cover, the whole discography basically. And then the band came across some of these videos at one point, and then they actually reached out to me at one point. Brad, the singer, he sent me a message on Facebook, and he said to me like, "Well, you did a great job, but this song was actually unreleased." So he just wanted me to look after it, so to say, But I asked him if he wanted me to take it down. He goes, "No, you keep it. That's your thing. That's your thing." And then I asked him, I'd love to jam with you guys one time. And then I didn't hear anything for a little while. I thought I blew my chance then. And then he came back about, I don't know, it may have been 2 months or so later. And the message was, "We was talking about you in band practice yesterday, and we'd love to do it."
Cool.
We'd love to do it. So then it turned out that we met at their show in London at the Camden Roundhouse. We just hosted this jam in the sound check, and then they asked me what song I wanted to play, and I chose a song called Believer, which is off their 5th record, I believe. And the record hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
The record was due to come out, I think, the month after that. And then from the get-go, he's 1, 2, 3, 4 counted in, and I played the song.
Yeah, nice.
As per the record, and then they were amazed, really, and they were like, "No, dude, you have to do the show. You have to do the show." I was like, "Holy," and I was like, "Okay, sure, yeah, why not?" So there you go, and it happened, and then I built a friendship with him really after that.
Cool. And in terms of like instruments, is it just guitar you play, or do you play any other instruments?
No, actually, on my record, Resurgence, I've actually played every single instrument on it.
Awesome.
I recorded it in my living room, in my home studio, the whole thing. So yeah, recorded, mixed, edited, and mastered all by myself.
Cool. And I wanted to ask you about like songwriting. What does your songwriting process look like? Like, do you sort of sit down and jam a few chords, or do you start with an idea? Do you start with lyrics, music? How do the songs normally come about?
It happens in various ways. Sometimes I can have the melody in my head already for a vocal line or something, and then I'll bring that there, or it could be a guitar riff, and then I work on it. But I think sometimes the things that come last are the lyrics for me, because where I'm predominantly a guitar player, I don't often think about. I didn't want to sing, to be honest. on this. But it was my wife Laura who kept pestering me. No, you got a great voice. Do it. You got a great voice. Do it. And I'm like, nah, I wasn't ready. But then after quite a while of pushing me to do it, she finally got what she wanted.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah.
And obviously, at the start of our call, your daughter Freya said hello as well. Is it just you, Laura, and Freya? Do you have like
No,
anyone
no,
else in the family?
I've got two boys as well, Rocky and Zach.
Nice.
Yeah, they're I've got Rocky who's 13, Zach's just turned 11 today as we're doing
wow.
this, and then Freya's 3.
Cool. And are there any of those going to follow in your footsteps, do you think?
Probably. I mean, I've left it open to them. There's instruments all around the house.
Yeah.
So there's a guitar to pick up, there's a piano to play, there's a drum kit to play, you know, and they've all had a fair go at it, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Only time will tell, you know. They're still young.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. And so you mentioned your album. Do you just have the one album out, or do you have like multiple albums out? What can people listen to?
In the solo project, I just have this one at the moment, but I am working on future music as well already.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have another album out with a band that I play bass in called Served on Sunday.
Cool.
We've worked with HMV a lot with their live and local thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then, we've been on a bit of a hiatus, you know.
Yeah.
But then, in the meantime, I kind of still wanted to do something. So that's when I decided, you know, I'm going to carry on with this solo project that I've been working on for God knows how many years. And then, put it all together and finally did it. You know?
Yeah. And mentioning HMV, so you played their in-store session recently. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, it was really, really cool. You know, the team there are lovely. Daryl, the manager there, and the rest of the staff, Hannah, Dan, and there's another one. I'm so sorry, I forgot your name, my dear. But yeah, they're super, super lovely people. Very, very, very. They just look after you, and they get the job done really well. Yeah, no, they're great. Yeah, Daryl's fantastic. He always gets the job done. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully I'm speaking to him actually. I think next week I'm hopefully speaking to him. So hopefully we'll have him on the show as well. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So is it? I mean, what other venues have you played in Wycombe? I guess like solo and as the band, or in and around.
In and around. I mean, yeah, I've played mainly the big London venues. I've played Shepherd's Bush Empire. I've played at the Roundhouse with Three Doors Down. I've played at the Underworld. I've played at quite a few venues. I mean, in and around Wycombe. I moved here about 4 years ago.
Yeah,
from London. So I didn't really put the feelers out for the music until quite recently, I'd say.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So I went and played at the Arts Centre.
Yeah.
I did a little open thing. That was quite nice. It was quite packed out, and I just turned up there with my guitar, and I was like, "Can I play a song, please?" And then they were really lovely there. You know, they said, "Yeah, of course, go for it." And then put a backing track on and played my song "Broken Reality."
Yeah,
went down really well. Went down really, really well. I think that was the first time I performed my solo stuff live. So I was.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
I was terrified. I mean, look, I've been playing in the massive venues in front of thousands and thousands of people. Then it came to this little room where I was by myself. It was a much different ballgame.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, you don't have the rest of the band to kind of lean on, and also, I suppose, with it being your solo stuff, it's more personal to you in a way as well.
Definitely.
Cool. And I wanted to ask you about Broken Reality. So you did a music video for that recently.
I did.
Who did you work with on that? And what can you tell us about the video?
I didn't work with anyone for it. That was all self-filmed and self-edited as well. I went to the Rye here in Wycombe, and there's a lovely little waterfall down there, nice little walkways, you know. So where I've taken the family around there, and we've had nice walks with the dog and stuff. We've like, oh, this is nice, and I keep thinking, this is lovely scenery. I could do a nice video here. So I just gave it a shot, you know. I mean, there is a scene. Obviously, there's a woman running from something in the video, but she's an actress. I don't know her, to be honest. I actually managed to find that footage on the internet for me to use. It was like a stock footage, so it kind of fit with the theme a little bit. So I thought, I'll just do that, and it worked out.
Cool, awesome. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. I'm here in conversation with Umar Arar, and this is another one of Umar's tunes. This is Live Our Dreams. That was Live Our Dreams by Umar Arar. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to rejoin Umar Arar for this week's interview. Now, what I was going to say, coming back to, again, you talking about when you moved to Wickham, obviously, like COVID happened as well, and so that probably didn't help in terms of going out to meet new artists. But I mean, did you find did music kind of help you to deal with COVID in a way? I suppose you're lucky in that you're living, you've got your family as well, so you've got a nice strong family unit to support you as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was still actually going to work, so I work in the NHS.
Okay,
yeah. I was still going for it when everyone else was stuck at home. So Um, it it in terms of how I got through it, I mean, I just living normally, really.
Yeah.
I think it was like obviously the family were struggling because they couldn't go out, they couldn't do this, that, and the other. Normally done. So I was the only one that had that sort of taste of freedom, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was weird, because it was like a ghost town everywhere,
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, I mean, yeah, it was good. It was okay.
Yeah, cool. And I wanted to ask you as well about your YouTube. So you mentioned, I suppose that's almost where you got your sort of first breaks and your first start with those covers years ago, and then obviously you've got your music video now. Like, how
Yeah.
important is like creating videos to go hand in hand with your music? Like, how important do you think that's been for you so far?
It's quite important, but I must say I feel YouTube isn't what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I could upload a video to YouTube 10 years ago with my Three Doors Down covers or whatever it was, and the video would just explode. It would go crazy. I have comments would be flying in, likes would be flying in, all sorts. These days, I do little videos and you get nothing short of 100, 200 views.
Yeah.
But I just think that's where the platform is so saturated now.
Yeah.
It's really hard to break through. But no, it's important. I mean, a video can carry a song as well.
Yeah.
A good story can really make the listener integrate with whatever it is, and they can build their own ideas on what the song could be anyway, either without the video. But a video, it's quite important. I'm working on a video for my next single, which I think we're going to be playing as well today. Live Our Dreams. That's in the works. So we'll see how that goes.
When are you hoping to have that out?
If not the end of December, maybe the beginning of January.
Cool. Awesome. And so in terms of like some of your influences, who would you say like are your biggest musical influences overall? I'm guessing Three Doors Down are up there.
Oh yeah, they're way up there. I think they've been number one for quite a long time. But then obviously as I've grown, there's been different things coming in and more lessons to learn, So there's a Finnish band called Poets of the Fall. I become quite good friends with them as well, and they were the things after Three Doors Down that so they were the ones that made me hit the next stage in my guitar playing.
Yeah.
And then following that, I mean, there has been Alter Bridge,
who
were quite huge, and then more recently, I'm wearing a top for them right now. This is Periphery. They're a sort of a hardcore gent band, but progressive metal, which isn't sort of what I usually like to have listened to. But it was kind of around COVID time that they came into my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they flipped a switch. And then all of a sudden I was like, because I don't know, I was, the day-to-day, the monotony of it, going to work and forth, and it just never had a break from, day-to-day life, being a dad and all this. And you get that pent-up stress, anger and all this, and they helped me let it out.
Yeah, it gave you an outlet.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, they are high up, Periphery are high up on my list right now.
Cool.
They're definitely number one right now.
Cool. And in terms specifically of guitarists as well, are there any like particular guitarists whose stuff you really enjoy?
No, I mean it's more from them bands. I mean, you hear a lot of guitar players. They bring out names like Jeff Beck and Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai, Clapton, and all this. No, I'm. Although I've listened to the music, I've grown up with the music. It's not the things that have given me that switch.
Yeah.
I think I like to. It's not that I'm finicky or anything, even though I kind of am. But it's more so like everybody says that.
Yeah.
I'm something different here. I'm not like I'm anything special. I mean, everyone is like special in their own right. But I kind of feel like they didn't the big main names,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's Mark Tremonti and there's Misha Mansour and these guys. but they're all from the bands that I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So
I mean, I always find as well though, like especially with some like genres of metal where it's like all about the really fast shredding and stuff, and it's like technically that's really impressive, but I don't actually care that much unless it makes me feel something. Like I'd rather have like I think like this is why like Nirvana's a great example of like not a very technically talented guitarist, but they can
oh,
like
100%.
make an emotive riff or something. So, but
100%.
then I really do like it, to be fair, when you get the mixture of both. So you're like, this is really technically proficient, but also it's really emotive. Like that's kind of the dream. But
That's what you get with Periphery.
yeah,
That is
awesome.
100%. I don't know if you've ever heard of them before, but
No, I'm gonna have to check them out.
Oh man, yeah, they're insane. Really good. They're really
Awesome.
cool. Man.
And I wanted to ask you about like what equipment do you use? I mean, is it just you and an acoustic guitar? Do you use any pedals? What do you use?
I use electric guitars.
Mhm.
I mainly use PRS, but I have an Ibanez that I started using for some of the songs, where it had the floating bridge. I was able to in one of my songs, "Leave It All Behind," the first one on the record, I just like whack that whammy bar, lifting in the guitar solo. But yeah, no, I have them going through a Line 6 Helix LT foot switch, which is basically like it's a amp modeling thing.
Yeah.
And it just does a trick. I don't need an amplifier or anything. I just stick it into a PA and it will do the trick.
One of them is like, what do you want to do to develop your style in, say, the months and years to come? Where do you think it's going to head?
I definitely wanted to add more technicality into my guitar playing. 100%. Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to add some technicality into my playing a bit more. I felt like, it's easy to write a song with chords and things like that, but where's I like a bit of flavor.
Yeah.
And I find that, I love a good guitar riff. And I wanted to try and bring that into some of my music already. I mean, I think there's one song that I've got where it's literally just chords.
Yeah.
For the most part, and a guitar solo. I think there was only one of the songs. I think there's one of them, Night Sky, which is the last track on my record. That one is a 7-minute track, and I would try to be a bit technical on that one.
Well, I was gonna say with chords as well, like there are only so many chords, and so as you say, like adding riffs and technicality and things like that, as you say, it gives it flavor and makes it more unique. There's a YouTuber I watch, David Bennett, who plays a pianist, but he does a lot of videos where he'll take a chord pattern and it'll be like 10 songs that use this chord pattern. And when you're listening, when you watch those though, it's like, oh wow, these songs do actually. When you listen to them all back to back, it's like they all sound exactly the same.
Exactly.
And if they do sound different, it is because actually they've got a lead guitar part, or they've got some other instrument that's going on top of the chords and playing some riff or playing some melody that is what differentiates it. So it sounds like an interesting way for you to kind of go with your music. And I mean, do you think as well, because you mentioned you playing bass as well, like, because obviously if you're playing a guitar, it's easy just to play some chords, whereas with bass, you kind of have to play a bass line. You don't really want to just sit there tapping every note.
Yeah. I mean, where it comes to playing bass, you see a lot of the music these days. It's all about hitting the root notes and following the bass drum to make sure you get that lock in for the time.
Yeah.
And everything's good. But then so I'll go way back with the guitar player Stu.
Yeah.
In Served on Sunday, when he wanted me to, because he knows I'm a guitar player. Really, he says, "Look, I want the bass to be played like a guitar. I want riffs."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that, man." So and I did that. I mean, you'll find if you ever end up having a listen to Served on Sunday, you hear the bass is just riffs all the way through. Really, it sounded pretty cool, man. It sounded cool. I mean, I got like the inspiration from that bass line from Poets of the Fall, the Finnish band, because the bass player, he's phenomenal. Yanni is his name. Just crazy good. Love it.
Awesome. Cool. And the last question is kind of 2 in 1, really. So, and you've covered a bit of it, but what's next for you, and where can people go to follow you, to find out more, to listen to your music, all of that good stuff?
Well, at the moment I'm on tour. I'm touring the UK. I think my next one, in terms of when this is going out, is going to be in Southampton on the 19th of December.
Cool.
And that's going to be broadcast on radio as well. And otherwise, I'm on all the social media platforms. You just search my name, Umar Arar, which is spelled UMAR and ARAR. You'll find me. Even on Google, just flip it in because you'll find me, my book and everything as well.
Awesome. Big thank you to Umar for joining me. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is the man himself, Umar Arar, with Leave It All Behind. That was Carrick Fergus by France LL, and before that we had Leave It All Behind by Umar Arar. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to head over to the Oak Shed now for this week's album review, courtesy of Twangling Jack Ford.
Madness, the definitive singles collection. There seems to be lots of ska about at the moment. Lots of imaginatively named bands covering both two-tone and the original Jamaican ska greats. People look back on two-tone as a great multiracial revolution, but it was just the Specials, the Selector and Madness. The Specials had a few hits with some covers, and then a big hit with the groundbreaking Ghost Town, and then split. The Selector only had one hit. But following the success of their self-penned Prince Buster tribute, Madness got signed to Stiff Records, where if it ain't stiff, it ain't worth a you-know-what. Madness had a mission statement. You know what to art, let's dance. And Madness were off and running, one step beyond, on a night boat to Cairo. Their first stroke of genius was the song My Girl's Mad at Me, a kitchen sink soap opera in one act, a truth universally acknowledged by all the blokes down the pub. They covered Labby Sifri's It Must Be Love, making it their own. In those overdressed new romantic days of wobbly synths, orchestral stabs, rattling bass and chorusy flangey guitars, each new Madness single was a breath of fresh radio airtime. Witty observational lyrics. The kids are playing up downstairs. It's quicker if you run. All performed with a deadpan North London accent. All dressed in black suits, in videos that looked like mini episodes of Grange Hill but with flying saxophonists. All performed whilst doing their trademark jerky dance. Just well-produced pop music that gradually became less ska and became something totally their own, as they became the Los Palmas 7, driving in their car and claiming to be Michael Caine. I saw Madness in their heyday at a free concert in Brockwell Park, probably at their peak, just before a long split. Madness, the definitive singles collection.
Big thank you to Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to Umar Arar for being this week's guest. Thank you to everyone whose music I've shared. As always, you can reach out to me here at the studio by dropping me an email on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. I particularly want to hear from poets, performers, musicians, anybody with MP3s, a story to share. Do not hesitate to get in touch. You can also find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we're repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So I'm going to leave you with one last tune, and this is Bitterroot with their version of All Along the Watchtower. I'll see you next week.
The Joker to the thief. There's too much confusion. I can get no businessman